think a proper YouTuber would have a cactus on their desk and coffee. There we go. Well, it's not entirely surprising that this week's video is about the things guitarists should actually spend their money on. As last week's video was about stuff guitarists shouldn't waste money on, this video's kind of the opposite of that. And I must admit, I was a little hesitant to make this video as, well, some of the items on the list are pretty obvious and don't really need saying, including a guitar. That made the list. But hear me out while I go through what I think, an emphasis there on the I think, what I think are the essential items that every guitarist just starting out on their guitar playing journey should buy. As I think I'll be able to make some useful points to consider. And I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments if I don't. Just as I'm sure you'll gently tap that like button and subscribe if I do. Well, first on the list, and whilst blooming obvious, is a guitar. But not just any guitar. And second, I knew the coffee and the cactus was a silly idea. I think your first guitar, or second, if you're considering expanding your collection, should be an acoustic guitar. Pop that there. Now, I know that's a controversial statement and acoustic music isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I've met many an inexperienced guitarist who's managed to sound quite impressive shredding on an electric with their plenty of effects, only to be handed an acoustic guitar and the situation quickly becomes embarrassing. Kind of like me trying to pronounce plethora. Generally, if you can play something well and sound good on an acoustic, then your skills will transfer better over to electric rather than the other way around. You see, without the aid of distortion or effects pedals, you're forced to focus on finger positioning, strumming, and picking technique. They're also simple and straightforward instruments that don't rely on any other equipment to make them work, like amplifiers or cables, allowing you to focus purely on playing the thing. That said, acoustics can feel harder to play and harder to get a good sound out of, as they tend to have a higher action, which is the string height. But that actually really helps with developing finger strength and dexterity. Learning the fundamentals of guitar technique on an acoustic, finger pressure to reduce string buzz, hand and finger positioning, solid rhythm playing will bode well for your future as an accomplished guitar player. Now, not all acoustics should feel uncomfortable to play, and choosing wisely when buying your first one can really help. I wouldn't worry too much about guitar shape, whether it's a dreadnought, an OM, whether it's large or small. That's really more about sound and tone preference rather than playability. But try to find a good cost balance between not spending too much on your first guitar, like we discussed in the last video, and not buying a pile of shit. A decent sounding guitar, and one that essentially feels good to play, will ultimately result in you playing it more often. So I've just finished the video, only to discover that my memory card is full and it cut out quite a long time ago. Got to start again from here. You can imagine how I feel about that. Where on earth did I get to? Oh yeah, number 2. Sorry about that, just having a whinge. So another glaringly obvious one for the list on top of a guitar is strings. But I'm not talking necessarily about the strings that are already on your guitar. I'm talking about having plenty of spares. And actually, I guess what I'm really getting at is to change them often. You see, I have a problem when it comes to throwing things away, particularly when it comes to food. I hate wasting food. I can't bear the thought of perfectly good food going in the bin. I think it stems back to when my mom used to say, think of the starving children in Africa. And now I eat an entire 5-pack of donuts because I can't throw them away. I've probably said too much. But for years it was the same with my guitar strings. I'd only change them when I broke them because anything sooner felt wasteful, resulting in an awful sounding guitar that felt like I was fretting cheese wire. Keep your strings in good condition, change them regularly, and your guitar will feel like new and your fingers will thank you. Bonus item, wire cutters. I mean, I used to use scissors, Swiss Army knife, just anything that had the capacity to chop things. And then eventually I bought these and, well, yeah, life-changing moment, really. So item number 3 is a tuner. Now, I talked a little bit about tuners in the last video, and I also made an entire video on tuning your guitar, which I'll link here if I can figure out how. So I'm not going to talk a huge amount about tuners in this video, but needless to say, you are going to want to get your guitar in tune if you're to get any enjoyment out of playing it. So I can't make a stuff beginner guitarist need video without the mention of a tuner. So clip-on smartphone app built into your guitar, foot pedal, someone you know with perfect pitch, tuning fork, you get the idea. Get yourself a tuner, get your guitar in tune, go have fun. Item number 4, and at the risk of this video sounding oh come on. At the risk of this video sounding a bit too much like the last one, these things, Plectrums, or picks, if you live anywhere outside the UK. I think unless you know that you're learning classical guitar or you're absolutely dead set on finger picking, for most of us in most genres of modern music, so be it rock, pop, jazz, blues, swing, whatever, I think these are useful bits of plastic that most of us will want to use. Particularly when you're learning, I think most of us would agree that it is easier to play a guitar when using a plectrum, and therefore the resulting sound you get out of your guitar is going to be more pleasing, thus causing you to play your guitar more often. I'd buy a big old pack of them, stash them in your guitar case, your desk, your wallet, your car glove box. Never let not having a pick be the reason for not playing. Number 5, a stand or a wall mount. Now this is about removing barriers that could stop you from playing, or to put it more simply, to have your guitar always at hand. I made the mistake for a couple of years of storing my guitars in their cases under the stairs, thinking I'll just grab them when I want to play them. I barely touched my guitars for 2 years. Just the simple act of going into the cupboard, pulling out the case, opening the case, taking the guitar out, tuning it up, like 30 seconds of effort, just led me to not bothering at all. Having your guitar to hand, ready to play, helps eliminate any other obstacles that might otherwise divert our attention to Netflix. In fact, I now keep one of my acoustics in the kitchen and I play it while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil. Not because I'm intentionally practicing or thinking I need to work on some scales, it's just there and I have a short attention span. What are we talking about? So you can take this to the next level quite easily too. If the first level is about removing obstacles and making it easier to play or practice, then the second level is about making it more enjoyable to play or practice, incidentally leading you to want to play more often. This can be as simple as nice lighting, a comfy chair, a wee dram of whiskey. I'm a firm believer that the environment plays a big part in our creative process. So item number 6, I would get yourself a capo. Now certainly not essential, and arguably not playing with one could result in you being a better all-round guitarist. But going back to an earlier point, we want our guitar journey to be first and foremost enjoyable. And if making things slightly easier for ourselves by putting on a capo, allowing us to play our favourite songs, the songs that inspired us to pick up the guitar in the first place, well then, be my guest. If people tell you it's cheating, then cheat. Cheat and enjoy yourself. But remember that a capo isn't just a cheat way of playing chords that you struggle with. A capo can change the tone and characteristics of a chord progression depending whereabouts on the guitar you put it. Playing a chord progression in C, if you put the capo onto fret 5 and instead play the chords in G, the guitar will sound much brighter and have a very different characteristic, almost a bit more like a banjo or a mandolin. Okay, lastly, and it's hard to know where to stop when doing these lists, as one man's essentials is another man's less essentials. I'm not sure that's how the saying goes. But one more item to throw into the mix would simply be a cleaning kit. Now you don't need anything too fancy or pricey when getting going, but I would say some dedicated guitar polish, a microfiber or lint-free cloth, and maybe some lemon oil for your fretboard. A clean guitar kept in good condition is going to stay in good condition for longer and will likely inspire you to play it more often. Look after your guitar and it will look after you. So there you go, that's my essential list for new guitarists. I've no doubt forgotten something glaringly obvious, so do let me or others know in the comments. If you do find this stuff useful, then please consider subscribing, and you never know, perhaps I'll see you in the next video. Ay, ay, ay.